called Keeping It Real in California, and it reminded me to talk to Riki Ellison, the founder and president of the MDAA, about what's going on in missile defense, and is the government funding it enough? Now, I'm not saying that everything is wonderful, and Riki's guys now have an open checkbook, which he never is going to have. But I first of all want to welcome you, Riki, and happy Easter to you. And secondly, are we getting the kind of money that we finally need here?
Aloha, Mike. I'm glad to hear from you.
Me too.
We've been snowbound here in Washington, D.C.
I heard that, man.
It's March, man. Where's that Hawaii weather out here?
You got to be sitting on. You got to be sitting on the beach with me and Chef Roy one of these days. You know.
I know. Hey, we had the highest amount of funding given to missile defense last Thursday night by Congress, $11.5 billion.
That's so wonderful. I'm so impressed, Riki, and that means that the decision makers are not deaf ear on this. They've been listening to you and hundreds of thousands of others and our military leaders about how important that money is to you.
That's a $2 or $3 billion jump.
Yeah, amen.
And it's going to keep coming, because my whole position is that we should be spending 2% of our defense budget on missile defense for our people. 2%. And that budget now is probably around $700 billion, so we need to get to about $14 billion to make that. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think that's going to get up there pretty good in the next year's budget, because they got everybody in place now. The real dream team is in place for missile defense.
Boy, that's so exciting.
President Trump.
You know, it's so exciting, and yet, you know, the entire nation looks at all kinds of things that are happening in California. You either love them or you hate them sometimes, but I read that thing, Keeping It Real in California. Despite all the problems that are going on in all the states, isn't this been a tremendous acknowledgement lately? Ever since Reagan and Star Wars and everything else, it looks like we've come full cycle, and the leaders in California are all in here.
Yeah, it was fascinating because we were able to celebrate that 35 years after that Strategic Defense Initiative. And what happened, just there was a competitive cauldron driven by the Soviet Union's Cold War, nuclear proliferation, that force functioned our ability to put missile defense and make it happen. We did not have any back then, and a series of factors with the labs. You had Lawrence Livermore Labs, Sandia Lab, you had the original think tank in the United States, the Rand Corporation out of Santa Monica. You had Governor Ronald Reagan coming into fruition. You had the aerospace defense industry all there at the right time, and it happened. And everybody thought it was going to be space-based and lasers. It was not. It was a kinetic energy. It's a bullet on a bullet, and that's what we proved last May. Remember on that GBI test?
Oh yeah, amen.
So we'll have accomplished all of that. Now, what's happening is now we got to look and go to the next level, because the Chinese, especially the Chinese and the Russians, but the Chinese are creating systems now to beat the ballistic missile trajectory. So those ballistic missiles that they use are like baseballs in the air, right? That we know exactly mathematically where they're going to be at a certain point in time, so we can put another missile in front of it. They're smart. So now they're shifting from using that technology to break it by doing maneuverable reentry vehicles. So once they come inside the atmosphere, they maneuver, and they're doing hypersonic. And hypersonic is like skipping a stone across the ocean there. It's skipping a weapon across the atmosphere and then coming in. And that is where they're ahead of us now. They're probably 5 to 10 years ahead of us in that aspect. So,
you know what?
I'm saying, it's maybe too much for you, but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what I'm saying is now, since we've achieved the technology and we've achieved, how to beat the ballistic missile, ICBM, we got to shift to looking at dealing with this new threat, which right now seems to be undefeatable mathematically with capabilities that we have today.
Okay, I got an email here that really sends on to this, and it looks like finally President Trump and Kim Jong-un are going to get together in person and talk about some stuff, which is really good. But some people are saying, you know what, this is a red herring. Everybody's paying attention to Kim Jong-un and Korea. In the meantime, who's paying attention to China and Russia?
Right. And hey, I'm all for, we are all for it, right? Everybody in the world's for a denuclearization through diplomacy, and hopefully with the president and Kim Jong, to make that happen. We're all for. I mean, we're 100% behind it. And I tell you, the president could not do that without having complete confidence that he can take out anything North Korea can show or fly in the United States.
That's exactly why I asked you that.
He would not go to the table. He did not have that capability. Yep. So we've got it, guys. We have it. And I'm pushing you, as you know, on Hawaii. Hawaii, I always push down Hawaii. Hawaii needs to have more of it than anybody else. But that's it. But we are moving in a positive direction. And hopefully that'll heal.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that, because I was reading, your website. I want people to go to the website and see this, because when you first look at it, the headline on the MDAA website, guys, is MDA alert: keeping it real in California. And not too many people give California the credit for keeping anything real. But the bottom line is here. We have this moment to acknowledge. From 35 years after President Reagan, and what Riki was talking about just earlier again, make sure that, isn't everybody was thinking before, oh yeah, what he's doing is putting this stuff up in this Flash Gordon stuff up in there so he can run a laser beam and as a weapon. What we're really talking about here is knocking other guys down with a non-nuclear weapon, just with a like you said, a bullet hitting the bullet.
That's right, and we proved it. So. Back then we had an experiment back in 1984 that Ronald Reagan approved called the homing overlay experiment. And they had a big, gigantic, 30-foot, more than that net on one of these missiles to catch the other missile coming in. And they launched it just like they're doing it today from Kwajalein, the target, and the interceptor from Vandenberg. And we hit it with that net. It was a technology experiment, but that was the video that he showed Gorbachev in Iceland that caused and enabled us to break the Soviet Union, because they saw that we could take this down. So there's a lot of stuff here, but we need to now go to the next level. We are not in the 1980s, 1990s. We are bigger than a small, I would say small, but irrelevant North Korea. China and Russia have taken advantage of the windows that we've been working on precision weapons and fighting these small wars in Iran and in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now we got to look at the bigger guys, because the bigger guys, China wants to change the status quo. China wants to change the status quo in the Pacific. Yep. And everything, west of Hawaii, they want that change.
Okay, so here's the deal. We don't want to rest on our laurels, because there's plenty of battle yet to come. But it must be very gratifying to you and everybody in the military circles, to see that the administration and Congress is recognizing the need for defense. You said before you want 2% of the budget. I think it should be 50%. But
I love you, Mike. But we live in a real world here.
But seriously, but seriously, look, put on your Super Bowl winning football helmet here for a minute. What wins football games? Defense and offense? No, both. So 2% is like a come on, man. Come on, man. Maybe that's where that come on, man came up with in the first place.
Good. 2% protects us, the people. Yeah. It doesn't kill anybody. It defends us. And it keeps stability in the world. It allows President Trump to negotiate with North Korea. It allows us to continue to keep our status quo over China and Russia. It enables peace. If we didn't have it, we would be in war right now.
The other side of it, Riki, isn't the other side of it, it's not just about the money. It's the reason why the money is there, because the powers that be see that the system works. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. We've proved it out. It's taken a long time, but we've proved that capability out. And they see it as a strategic negotiation, enabler for them around the world to do it. Every nation's going to want. Why would you not want to protect your country and your territory and your people from the threat of the day, right? The threat of the day.
You know what's kind of cool? Somebody just commented to this, said, isn't this sort of interesting? Everybody just been critical of Kim Jong-un to develop weapons that they can sell to companies like Iran. What about the U.S. developing systems that they can give to everybody in the world to protect themselves too? Isn't that the other half of the quotient?
Yeah, but I think what the reality is that these small countries are using the poor man's Air Force of doing rocketry with weapons to force project and threaten bigger countries. That's what's going on here, and we have not been able to stop that. North Korea is an example of it. if they're allowed to go, they're going to sell that technology to other countries. They're going to threaten all the other countries in the world. So, yeah, absolutely. We should be defending against this because we cannot stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons right now or delivering them. And that's why I go, when are we going to go to that next step and then eliminate them all? I mean, laser technology in space can eliminate them. If we put the money in there and
that's
deal
the key.
with it that way.
Put the money in there. Well, I mean,
and the investment, and ask the smartest guys in our country to work on it. We got engineers, we got great students, we got great infrastructure to do this.
Yeah.
Once there's a national need or requirement vision that puts forward.
And just look at us here out in the middle of the Pacific playing such a key role in that. I mean, once again, you were talking about keeping it real in California, but we're also keeping it real pretty here on the island of Kauai and certainly in Pearl Harbor.
Well, you've got the new radars coming in.
Yep.
You're going to have a close to $1 billion radar that's going to see everything coming at you. And you got to have that because if you can't see it, you can't shoot it down. That is getting in place. That's being funded. And now we're going to have to get interceptors to go with that.
I never thought of that. I never thought of that, Ricky. You just said you got to see it to knock it down. Yeah. And that's what this new system is going to be, right? As a matter of fact, I don't think the audience really knows. We've talked about it before. When a missile leaves a launching pad somewhere, isn't it only a matter of a few seconds before we know that?
Yeah, we have defense satellites that are up in space that can spot the heat signature of any missile launched anywhere in the world.
That's amazing.
And we can grossly estimate it. We can grossly understand where it's going, but we can't exactly know where it's headed until 5 minutes or so up, because then we've got a warhead that's separating. It's got a bunch of junk with it, which is right around 6 feet, and then it spreads to about 6 miles by the time it gets over. So we got to track and see that specific warhead. And they got countermeasures, they got decoys, they got pennies, they got all sorts of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
So you got to see this thing, just like a right fielder out there in the base. I mean, he's getting hit, right? And there's maybe 1,000 objects. They're coming at him. He's got to get his mitt on the right object. You can't shut your eyes.
Hey, remember, it was back in my days, talking to use the baseball analogy, big guys, you're either the catcher or the right fielder, because nobody hit out the right field back in those days.
They're hitting out the right field.
Everybody does. Yeah, not everybody.
They are hitting out the right field because they know where to go on that.
Yeah, anyway, you know what? I bet
that's why the SPX is such a big deal for us, right? The big bubble that's in your harbor, that has to go out.
That's got to get out there and stay out there.
It takes a lot of time to get out there. We don't want to rely on that all the time. We want Hawaii to have its own permanent capability to see everything and not rely on that and that ship to go all the way out and all the way back. It can't go 365 days. So this enhances Hawaii's security much more than what it is today by having that big radar there. But you have to have interceptors to go with that radar.
There you go.
Let's not kid ourselves. That's not. I mean, guys still shoot these things down. I mean, like you don't want to hear about it on your cell phone that an attack's coming and know it's coming, know what it is without the ability to shoot it down. You better have some ability to shoot it down from Hawaii.
I can tell you one thing. Ronald Reagan is up in heaven 35 years later, high-fiving everybody, saying, look what they're doing finally down there to get phase 2 of this whole thing going so we are completely safe.
Yeah, his legacy is so amazing for us. And the number one thing is peace through strength. Peace through strength. You have to have strength to have peace.
Ricky,
and that's
it is
what we're doing.
It is always a joy to talk to you, my friend. I hope you, in spite of the weather in Washington, D.C., have a happy Easter weekend, and I look forward to talking to you again down the road.
Thank you, Mike. Happy Easter to you and everybody in Hawaii.
There you go. That's our buddy Riki Ellison, MDAA.org. Check it out. More coming up right after this.